Welcome back to 94 Feet, ladies and gentlemen. Kade Cameron, Danny Stepanovich, as usual. And of course, we've got ourselves a loaded show today. We've got a lot of stuff in the NBA going on, a lot of stuff that we can't cover, but still at the same time, we're probably going to find a way to slide into this show, along with a lot of fashion as well. And of course, with Thanksgiving, we got to at least tell you guys what we're thankful for when it comes to our own pieces. So to kick it off, Danny, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good, Kate. I hope you can't hear my roommate vacuuming in the background. You know, he doesn't vacuum at all, but apparently at 10 p.m. on a Sunday.
Jeez, that's funny. Hey, it's okay. I was gonna say I got a roommate, dude. I'm happy I'm on the other side of the apartment from him. He's playing games right now, and I cannot express this enough. He is the loudest person to be around when he's playing games. Like it is. I'll be trying to sleep at 11. Hey, with my Friday shifts, I got to be up at like 5 o'clock for those. It'll be 11 o'clock. I'll be in bed trying to sleep, and he's blasting some type of music there. And
he's running that new Warzone now, man. I don't blame him.
I was gonna say exactly. I don't blame him now, but I was gonna say it's like a weekly thing. So, but yeah, as mentioned, NBA power rankings. That's going to be the big subject on the show today. We're both going to break down our power rankings going into the first month of the season. We've got some other NBA talk. Patrick Beverley got suspended. When was that? That was last Tuesday. Over his shoving of DeAndre in. So we'll talk about that. Of course, some Lakers Suns talk got to be thrown in there.
Hey, Lakers. Hey, Cade. Keep the hat. 4-1 last 5. AD's been showing out. LeBron dropped a little 39 piece. Hey, we're on the come up. I just got to say.
Hey, I want to say, hey, you guys are looking good. I'll give you that one. I mean, Russ, maybe not in the sense that when you get smacked in the face, that's going to obviously lead to some issues. But at the same time, that's something I agree. They're on the come up for sure. We'll talk Atlanta. Dan, I'll let you lead the Atlanta segment just because you know a little bit more than I do. And of course, what's 94 feet without fit of the week and some fashion. But Danny, I'll actually let you pick. Do you want to start off with kind of like the lighter stuff, like the Atlanta and the Patrick Bev stuff, or do you want to do power rankings first?
I say we get into the power rankings. What do you think?
All right, power ranking. No, I like that.
Let's start off hot. Let's start off with the hot takes. I'm interested to see where you have teams for real.
All right, for sure. All right, let's do it. So, yeah, we'll start power rankings first. Danny, now let me ask this. Do you want to go 10 to 1 or do you want to go 1 to 10?
Let's do 10-1. I think that's more fun. Build up the anticipation. I feel like we both might have the same team at 1, but we can start at 10.
Okay, for sure. Then, Danny, I'll let you start at 10. Who is your 10th best team in the league right now?
It's a team that we kind of clowned on last week. Maybe we overreacted a little bit, but at the end of the day, I remember we said the Warriors are going to be fine just because of Steph Curry. And at the 10th spot, I got the Warriors sneaking in after a rough start to the season. They find themselves 9th in the West already. They're on a 3-game win streak. Klay Thompson last 5 games, 21, 20, 18, 41, and 21. Only 1 game below 50% from the field. So he's finally, getting his stroke right. Steph Curry, 2nd in the league in points. And Draymond Green, last night, 19 points. The most points, a season high. The most points he scored since December of 2019. I always like to bring up that stat. When's the last time Draymond Green scored 20 points? So Warriors on the come up. I got them at the 10 seed because, the bench is still shaky, but I got them at 10 right now.
All right. I mean, I like where that's at. Obviously, the West is, at least as of a few days ago, the West had so much parity just from 1 through 10. I mean, there was so much consistency, so much parity. So you could have put any team there at that 10 spot. You could have put them, honestly, anywhere. And I wouldn't have been upset with that decision. 11 and 10 right now, they're obviously in a position where they had a really rough first part of the season. They're finally starting to kind of get that normal, just in sync motion that we've seen out of this Warriors team in the past. And we saw it last year. Granted, Steph Curry was out, but at the same time, they started that season slow. And then by the time that Christmas time began to come around, that's when this Warriors team really decided to step up. Now, one thing that has been talked, or that you kind of mentioned in this sense, is the way that Klay has been playing, at least as of recently. You look over his past few games, he's putting up stats. His lowest point total was 18 against the Clippers. The Clippers are one of the best defensive teams in the league. So you're talking about a team that is finally, as mentioned, starting to find that rhythm. And despite that 11 and 10 start, sitting at 9th in the West, I agree. I'll admit, I don't have them in my top 10, but I agree in the sense that they're definitely on the come up. And if we do this in a month from now, I can almost guarantee you they're going to be in my top 10 as well.
Okay. Who you got at 10 then?
I'll say Austin's going to be happy about this one. I think we went 2 different paths here. But I went with the Sacramento Kings. They're currently sitting at 10-8. When you look at their offensive stats this season, I mean, it's the defense that's really holding this team back. Offensively, they're second in point totals at 119 points per game. They're third in field goal percentage, shooting 49.1%, which is an insane stat in itself, considering that you're talking about half the shots you take, I mean, are going in. That's at the NBA level, that's still pretty insane to me. You have De'Aaron Fox that's averaging 25 points per game, a guy that's shown that he can finally lead this team into a winning record and a possible playoff spot. And of course, Kevin Huerter, a guy that I showed you. I forgot who quoted. I think it may have been Kevin Durant. He's sneakily being one of those like kind of better role players in this league. I mean, he's averaging almost 3 points made per game. So overall, like I said, one of the best offenses in this league. And if it wasn't for a very, very inefficient defense, you're talking one of the top teams in the league based off those stats.
Oh yeah, no, their offense is carrying them. I don't have a problem with you at 10. I got them at 9, so I can just get into it. I got them at 9. I mean, you pretty much what you said. They haven't held an opponent to under 100 points still. They're 25th in defensive rating. Their defense is just what's holding them back for me. But third in opponent fast break points, second in opponent second chance. So they really don't play a lick of defense. They're running layup lines on the Kings, but the Kings offensively are matching up with them. So I got them as a top 10 team right now. I got to respect that 7-game win streak just a couple games ago.
Exactly. I mean, they're putting up stats. They're able to get it done together. They're looking good. So I can't be upset about where this Kings team is at. And of course, as mentioned, shout out to Austin. He's happy about that as well. For my 9, I've got another LA-based team, not your Lakers, though. I got to go with the LA Clippers. As of now, they're 12-9. Again, another team that's in a similar position as the Warriors, where they had a slow start to the season. They're finally starting to find that rhythm, but in a different way. Instead of being as efficient on the offensive side of the ball, they're one of the top defensive teams in the league. As of now, I mean, when you talk about offense, they're actually the worst team offensively in the league, scoring only about 106 points per game, which, I mean, if you're talking 80s, 90s basketball, that's high. But of course, in the 2022 season, when points, I mean, are at an all-time high, it feels like 106 points isn't really going to get you anywhere. So again, as mentioned, they're last on offense. When you're talking about defensive stats, they're fourth in points allowed per game at 107. And of course, you're looking at guys on that team, again, not necessarily a team that's producing a lot, but still you're looking at guys on that team like Paul George, who's averaging 23 points per game. I mean, other guys on the team, I feel like we haven't seen much of Kawhi this season, where I'm interested to see when that really starts picking up. John Wall was supposed to be one of the top additions, and you can see that he's making his presence there. But realistically, as it seems, as of now, this 12-9 team is still relying very heavily on that base squad that we've seen over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I just came back from Los Angeles, Kade, and I don't know, everywhere in LA, there's ready to return signs for Kawhi and Paul George, and we're still waiting for this return. As soon as Kawhi gets healthy, Paul George goes down, I think last Monday or something. We haven't seen them. I got them at 8, so we're in a rhythm right now, Kade.
All right, so let's hear that 8 then.
Yeah, I got them at 8 because when Paul George and Kawhi have played together 3 games, they're 3-0. It's that simple. 5-2 in their last 7. They still got the best roster in the league. In my opinion, 6 players averaging double-digit points. Zubac just earlier today or last night, 31-29 against the Pacers. Are you kidding me? He looked like Shaq out there. So we're still waiting for this Clippers team to get healthy, and they're still 5th in the West, which is it's kind of weird. I mean, to sit at 5th in the West, and it's pretty much been Paul George and Kawhi playing 20 minutes, sitting in and out every game. So I'm waiting for this Clippers team to get healthy. I am a little worried. Can they get healthy? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, in time for playoffs, are they going to have enough reps together? I think so. I still have them. They're my preseason team out of the West. I think they were your team to win it all. But that's right, Kate? You picked them to win it all?
Yeah, I have them as my champions.
Okay. So, yeah, they're still sitting at 5th in the West. I think they'll be fine once Kawhi and Paul George can somehow, get on the court at the same time.
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest factor in this, is getting them both on the court at the same time. I mean, since Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been playing in LA. I feel like it's been such a minuscule amount of time that they've actually been on the court together. Similar in a sense that you see out of Brooklyn with Kyrie and Kade, at least for some time there. So it's interesting to see how this is going to play out. I think in general, if they are able to get those reps before the postseason, they're in good hands. Even if they don't necessarily get those reps before the postseason, we've seen the depth and we've seen that they've been able to do this before. That even if they only have one of those two available, that might be able to at least get them pretty deep into the playoffs, as long as one or the other is able to come back later on. So overall, again, in a similar situation as the Warriors, they're on the comeback, but at the same time, we'll have to see how this all plays out throughout the remainder of the season. For my 8, I got the New Orleans Pelicans. As of now, I mean, sitting at 11-8. They're not looking too bad, I mean, this is, I feel like, what a lot of people were expecting. They're as of now 4th in point differential, sitting at 5.5. Nothing too crazy right there. 5th in field goal percentage, which again, I mean, you're talking about a team that's almost making half their shots that they take, which is solid. And of course, Zion, I mean, 22.4 points per game. You can't really ask anything else out of him, especially at this young age and having the help around him. Overall, that's looking like a solid team. Now, I will say maybe a little bit underwhelming for what we were expecting going into the season, but at the same time, you've got to think that we're still talking early in the season. You never know what's going to happen right around those months of January and February, where it kind of seems like teams like this really start to pick up and show what they're truly capable of.
Hey, they're my 7th team right now, so we got similar rankings. I guess just my teams are one spot ahead of you, but I agree. This offense, I'm not completely sold on it just yet. That's why I have them at 7, not higher. Zion, 22 points per game. Kade, you look around the league, it looks like every superstar is averaging about 30 this year. I mean, the points per game for all teams is just skyrocketing across the league, I feel like. And Zion to be sitting at 22, a little disappointing. He was my preseason MVP. That's not looking too good. BI took a step back after an all-star season last year, only 20 points per game. And CJ, he's been nice, 18 points per game, but only shooting 41%, one of his lowest in a while. So offense still got some things to figure out. But they blew out the Warriors by 50 last week. They played the Celtics close and they beat bad teams. I don't have the standings pulled up right now. Where are they sitting in the West? They're 4th in the West still. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're my 7th best team.
Yeah, okay, exactly. I was going to say, I think, as I mentioned, by January and February, that's where they're going to be primed to really take off. Maybe like right after the All-Star break, I can see them going on a pretty deep run and launching themselves into a little bit more of a secure playoff spot by that time, when that time comes around. For my 7, I feel like this is where we start to get that mix and whatnot. For my 7, I got the Indiana Pacers.
Wow.
They're a team that obviously got hot pretty recently, but at the same time, you're talking about power rankings right now. On what day is it? November 27th. I mean, you're talking about a team that overall, it's weird because stat-wise as a team, they're not leading any stat by a significant margin. I mean, overall, you're looking at them. I mean, defensively, 2nd in blocks, but other than that, 7th in the league in points, sitting at 116 points per game. But overall, when you're talking about just team stats, again, not high up there. Player stats individually, it's a very well-built, rounded team. You're talking about a guy like Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, he's only averaging 19.9 points per game, just barely under 20 points per game, which is nothing special, nothing of significance. But again, we've also talked about Ben Mathurin being able to kind of help with that point total as well. You're talking about a guy like Miles Turner who's averaging 2.8 blocks per game. Also, to go back to Tyrese Halliburton real quick, he's leading the league in assists per game at 11.1. So you're talking about a guy who's playing as a true floor general, but then on top of that, also having the opportunity to really just dish out the ball, having trust in his teammates and his teammates having trust in him. And overall, just a lot of trust in that team. So when you're talking about a complete team or a team that's playing as complete as possible, it's the Indiana Pacers right now. And as I mentioned on last show, I don't think they're making the playoffs, but this is the start they need to kind of prove that they have that potential, if not this year, next year for sure.
And someone you didn't mention, Miles Turner. I don't know if it's all these trade talk rumors. He's trying to get an extension or something like that. But he's playing the best of basketball of his career right now. At 19 points per game, that's by far a season high. Ever going back to his sophomore year when he averaged 14, that was his 2nd highest points per game. So he's balling out. It feels like Tyrese Halliburton, he's having like that true point guard effect where he's making his teammates better, which is something that you don't really see. Tyrese only 22 years old. He's only been in the league, I want to say 3 years now, and he's already making such an impact like that. But Buddy Hield, he's having a great year. Miles Turner having a great year. Tyrese, like you said, leading the league in assists. They're balling out. I'm not mad that you have them at 7. That's deserving. I feel like I have my other teams higher. For me, they're probably in that like 10 to 15 range for sure. But I can't be mad. You have them at 7.
And on top of that as well, I'm happy that you mentioned Buddy Hield because he's another guy that came into this Indiana Pacers team who looked like they were set to rebuild, and they're doing fantastic. So again, as mentioned, I think as of now you see this team and they're the most complete team out of what we've seen. Not necessarily the best team, obviously, but at least when it comes to a team that is playing as a cohesive unit, this is the definition of that in the Indiana Pacers. But going from that, Danny, who is your 6th overall team?
All right, at number 6, I had them at 7, and then they beat the Pelicans. So I got the Grizzlies sitting at 6 right now. They just took down New Orleans 132 to 111. This Grizzlies, John Morant looks like a superstar. I kind of doubted him heading into the offseason. I wasn't sure if he was going to keep up that, the Grizzlies were the 2 seed last year. I wasn't sure if they're going to be able to keep that up again, and he's proven me wrong for sure. They're sitting at 3rd in the West. I really don't love their bench just yet. Maybe down as the season goes on, I'll warm up to it. But I don't really like, Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, Conchar. I mean, these are kind of just guys right now. John Morant's kind of carrying this team, but I still like Darren Brooks, JJJ, still one of the best defensive teams in the league with Steven Adams there too. So I got them at 6.
Okay, I like that. I was going to say Memphis is my number 6 team as well. Obviously 12-8 on the season so far. They're 2nd in rebounds. So again, kind of similar to that Indiana Pacers team where it's like there's no specific player that's just averaging. There's no specific player that's getting crazy rebounds. But you look at that team so far, they're averaging 48 rebounds a game, which is incredibly solid. They're top 10 in points with 115.1 points per game. John Morant has spent some time out, but at the same time, you're talking about a guy, and similar to, as you mentioned, superstar is averaging somewhere around 30. John Morant at 28.6 points per game. Steven Adams, as I mentioned, no like big guy that's absolutely rebounding like just a monster or anything like that. Steven Adams is averaging 10.9, rebounding 10.9 rebounds a game. So, I mean, that's solid in itself. But overall, just in general, again, as mentioned, and as you mentioned, maybe the bench isn't necessarily the best, but when you're talking starters, it's looking good. Also, to talk about starters on that team, Desmond Bane, a guy that you had on your top 50, he's balling out there for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Memphis team kind of settles down and whatnot and where they end up as the season comes to an end. But at the same time, you're looking at it now, and if they can get the bench help that they need, again, they're looking like a possible contender in the West for sure.
And they should be looking to be a contender. John Morant, if he wants to prove himself, he didn't have the best playoffs last year against the Warriors. He ended up getting hurt. So this Grizzlies team is still on a mission. Who do you have at 5? Or do you want me to go, Kade, for 5?
No, you can go. Yeah, you'll take your 5.
Okay. At 5, I got the Nuggets sitting at 2nd in the West, which is kind of surprising. I feel like they haven't been playing the best basketball just yet. And yet they're 2nd in the West, just 1 game behind the Suns. I'm looking at it right now. They're 24th in defensive rating. They recently fell to the Pistons. They just beat Oklahoma City in overtime and split an away match against the Mavs. Jamal Murray, I'm a big Jamal guy. I got his picture right up here. He's only averaging 16 points per game, 4th on the team behind Aaron Gordon and Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. And he's averaging the lowest field goal percentage since his rookie year, shooting 42%. So I'm waiting for him to wake up. But, I've seen enough out of Jamal Murray. I know no all-star appearances to his name, but this dude is a baller. If you watch, Nuggets fans know this. People know that Jamal Murray's a bucket, and I'm kind of just waiting for him to snap out of it. And once he does, I think this Nuggets team is just going to get into a second gear. In my opinion, they still have they have the 2nd best roster in the league. You got Bones Highland, been a complete surprise off the bench. I think he's averaging 15 points per game. He's a total bucket. I don't know if you follow him on TikTok, but he's got some pretty cool TikTok content. They got 7 players in double digits in scoring. So I really like this Nuggets team. Once they start to figure it out, they still got Jokic MVP status right there. Aaron Gordon, After kind of a disappointing season last year, especially in the playoffs, he's been balling out. So I gotta shout him out. So I got the Nuggets sitting at 5.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, no, you're looking maybe Jamal Murray not putting up those stats yet, just still since he's coming back from that ACL injury.
Yeah.
I'll say this right now, having experienced knee surgery myself, it's not easy to come back from that. I still think about stuff like that. So obviously, when you're talking playing at a professional level after ACL surgery, it's not going to be easy for him. But as you mentioned, once he snaps out of that, I think you're talking about a completely different animal in Jamal Murray, who has the possibility of taking this team over the top. And I feel like we've said it quite a bit here, or at least definitely me. I've said it quite a bit here in this show, in the sense that some of these teams needed a few weeks to kind of just get into this system of just a new season, and they're finally starting to figure themselves out and make a name for themselves. I've got the Denver Nuggets at my 5, the overall team as well. 12-7 overall this season. You're talking second in field goal percentage at 49.3%. Jokic obviously doing Jokic things, 8.8 assists per game, 22.4 points per game. Nothing too crazy out of what we've seen out of Jokic in the past, but at the same time, still doing what he needs to do to lead this team. And again, you're talking about a team that didn't necessarily have that hot start that they needed, but at 12-7, they're finally starting to figure themselves out and make their name known in the West. A team that I thought, considering that they were going to get a lot of stars back, and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, and even Aaron Gordon having himself a year so far, considering that he hasn't really been that big-time name that I think a lot of Nuggets fans were expecting when they got him out of Orlando. It's going to be a team that I think as of now, if this team stays healthy and they continue to show success, you're not even talking just coming out of the West. You're talking about winning the whole thing. So I think it's a very high possibility for this Nuggets team. And honestly, I don't think they have their eyes set on anything lower than that.
I agree. I think they definitely will be able to compete this year, especially, this West is so competitive, but it's also kind of open this West. There's no clear cut favorite, I think, this year. So I definitely could see the Nuggets competing.
No, 100%. All right, Danny, who's your 4?
Coming in at 4, I got the Cleveland Cavs. They've kind of become one of my favorite teams out of the East. I don't remember where I had them. I think I had them going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but yeah, this Cavs team I'm starting to fall in love with. I've said it before, but I think they're the best backcourt. They have the best backcourt in the league with Darius Garland, who just dropped 51 a couple games ago in a loss to the Timberwolves, and Donovan Mitchell, who's averaging 30 points per game, playing like an MVP right now. But I don't got them higher. I still got them at 4. They're not. I feel like there's 2 tiers. There's like the 1 through 3 teams for me, and then the 4 through 10. They're in that second tier just because they fell to the Bucks. They're 0-2 this season against the Bucks, and they got blown out both times. It wasn't really even close. They had a 8-1 start, had a little 5-game losing streak where they literally stopped playing defense after Jaren Allen went down. They went from allowing 104 points per game to 118 points per game, but they figured it out. They're on 1-game winning streak right now, so hopefully they figured it out. But I think they're 4 out of their last 5, so they did figure it out. But like I said, Cavs at second, best backcourt in the league in the East, in my opinion. You got them in top 4, Kade?
I do have them in top 4, and I'll be honest with you, it was a coin flip of where I wanted them, whether it was at 3 or at 4. I agree with you, though. I put them at 4. I mean, 13-7 record. That record itself speaks for itself. I mean, they're talking about a team that was able to figure themselves out, especially with the addition of Donovan Mitchell, who is quietly making an MVP argument for himself. I mean, overall, you're looking at his stats, 30 points per game. He's averaging about 4 threes a game, which is leading the league in that stat right there. Overall, this team, offensively and defensively, it's very similar to a team that's in that 3rd spot for me. The only reason I have that other team ahead of them is because of some other factors that I'll get into later, or a little later on. But overall, this Cleveland Cavaliers team, again, making a name for themselves, and if they can continue to show the success, especially with the addition of Donovan Mitchell and the success that you've seen, as you mentioned, with one of the best backcourts in the league, it's overall looking very good for this Cleveland Cavaliers team as this season continues. The only big question I'm going to have is just seeing how Jared Allen is going to continue to produce. Obviously, he had a very good season last year. He was a good pickup when he got or he was a very good pickup when he was taken away from the Brooklyn Nets. Again, we'll just have to see how he continues to show that success, and because I really do think that Jared Allen is that key to how far this team goes throughout the season and the playoffs as well.
I mean, yeah, we saw it last year. Once he went down, they went from like a top four seed all the way to completely out of the playoffs. But like you said, Jared Allen, he really makes his team well balanced. They got the guard play and they also got the center, the big man play. Evan Mobley's been balling out as a sophomore still. Same with Kevin Love off the bench. You kind of mentioned how well balanced they are, Cade. They have the seventh best offense and the third best defense. So it's really a team that you kind of like top to bottom, and there's a reason why they're third in the East.
Exactly, and that's why I'm a big fan of them so far. I think they're definitely a threat to be feared throughout the East and whatnot, and they've shown that they've been able to at least kind of build that success themselves. But also, now you're talking about a guy that's found success in other teams, especially with the Utah Jazz, and he's going to add to the ability to really kind of push this team over the top. Danny, I feel like I can kind of just get a good idea of what the rest of your list is looking like. But Danny, who do you have as your third team in your power rankings?
I'm interested to see if we have the same top three. I got the Suns sitting at 3. What about you?
I got him at 3 as well.
Okay, yeah, we probably have the same top 3. Yeah, Suns on a 4-game winning streak right now. They're kind of like really good at home, 11-1 at home. I remember last year they had a really good home record as well. I correct me if I'm wrong. Their one loss came on that Anthony Simons Blazer game winner. So if their only loss is off that game winner, I mean, geez, you can't really ask for much more. Their record right now is 13-6. That's best in the West. And they have 2 2-point losses and 2 1-point losses. So, they're losing the close games. Eventually, those are going to flip towards their favor, I'm sure. And they still haven't had Chris Paul pretty much all year. They're 5th in defensive rating. So, they're still a top defensive team that like we saw last year. Hey, and shout out to DeAndre Ayton after he got punked. Yeah, he got punked by Patrick Beverley. That's right. I wasn't sure how he was going to respond. Ayton kind of a softie, right? We do kind of question his aggressiveness. He comes out 28-12 and then 29-21 past 2 games. So he has been showing out. I got the Suns sitting at 4-8. Also, D Book, 10th in points per game. He's been kind of underappreciated, I feel like, this season. People not talking too much about D Book.
No, I agree. And I'll say this, going back to that home record, I think Footprint Center is definitely one of the best home atmospheres in the league. I mean, just the way that they're able to bring the energy every game. You're talking about games Sunday afternoon, Tuesday night, all that. They're still packing the arena. They're showing that they care about this team and they're ready to see this team go out there, win, and hopefully bring home a championship sometime in this near future. But yeah, as mentioned, I got him at 3. Hey, maybe that Pat Bev shove was something good for DeAndre Ayton because he's been showing out these past few games. I mean, he was the reason why the Suns won that game against Utah by 1 point. What was it, 113-112, where he had that 29-21 game. I mean, you're talking about massive stats there. You also mentioned the other game where, what was that, 28-12? Overall, he's been putting up stats. This is the DeAndre Ayton that the Phoenix Suns drafted as the number 1 overall pick. And we were talking about the addition of DeAndre Ayton with Devin Booker, with other key players on that team. Damian Lee has one of the best 3-point percentages in the fourth quarter, which, of course, when you're talking about going down the stretch of these games, you're losing by 1 or 2 points. Having that high percentage is going to help so much. And you're doing all of this when you have guys like Chris Paul and Cam Johnson who are out. So you're talking about 2 starters who are out, and you're still finding a way to win at home and just in general. This team, I'll admit, they're defying my expectations because I was not expecting them to come out here and play as good as they are, especially with the whole Jay Crowder situation looming and whether he gets traded before the season ends or not, which I have no clue what's going to happen there. You're talking about just a plethora of things just going into this season. Not sure where the Suns were going to end up. A month into the season, they're still looking like one of the top teams in the West, and as of now, they are the top team in the West. So they're proving the haters, including myself, wrong.
Coming from a Suns fan, I know that means a lot, especially you did doubt them. I do remember heading into the offseason, you did have your doubts, but you want to get into my number 2, Cade?
Let's hear it.
Okay, number 2, got the Milwaukee Bucks. No surprise here. I'll start with a shout out to Brooke Lopez, who somehow he's turning the clock backwards. It felt like this dude was getting older and older. And somehow he's first in the league in blocks per game, 2.8. He's kind of carrying this, not carrying, but he's part of the reason why they're first in defensive rating. Giannis is doing Giannis things. 31 points per game. That's fourth. 11 rebounds per game. That's fifth in the league. You really don't need too much explanation. Second in the East. They just picked up a win against the Mavs, the Cavs, the Bulls, Blazers. Fell to the Sixers, which was surprising with no Embiid. Maybe they just didn't come out prepared, because that does happen. I feel like no Embiid. You're not going to try as hard, but they're beating good teams. Like these aren't cupcake wins. They beat the Cavs twice in the past 2 weeks, beat the Hawks, and I really like the Bucks this year. So they're going to be on the top of these power rankings for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, that I agree with that. I mean, we knew what they had going into this season. We knew that they were going to be one of the top teams, especially having won a championship 2 years back, going to the Eastern Conference semifinals a year ago. They're a very solid team, and they're going to continue to build upon that, especially when you have a core like Giannis and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton and all these guys who have already shown that they can go out there and win. They're looking like a fantastic team. As you mentioned, 14-5, third in are one of the best defenses in the league, with third points allowed per game at 107.2. Top team in rebounding, almost averaging 50 rebounds a game. Third in blocks. I mean, overall, you're looking at the defensive stats in this team. I was not expecting this team to be the best defensive team in the league, and they're proving that right now. And that obviously goes into a big factor in why they're 14-5. And of course, when you add that with Giannis, who's currently averaging 31 points per game and is leading that Bucks team, there's a reason why they're at 14-5, and they are at second on our power rankings and probably most power rankings out there in general.
And to no surprise, we both have the Celtics at 1, right, Kade?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, this Celtics team is just balling out, going crazy. 15-0 against teams not named the Cleveland Cavaliers or Chicago Bulls. They're 16-4, best record in the NBA right now. The second in offense, 17th in defense. So they don't even really have that great of a defense just yet. But let's remember, Robert Williams is still going to come back, coming off that. I think it was ankle surgery. So, and we saw how important he was defensively to them last year, especially in the second half of the year. If you remember that January to like June run where they just went insane, became the best defense in the league. Tatum, he's balling out, 30 points per game. He looks like an MVP. He's fifth in points per game with 30. And they recently just won without him. Jaylen Brown, someone who you said is not a star yet, Kade, just dropped 36 in a win. So, Celtics, I did not see this crazy start, especially with that offseason they had with, Ime, new head coach, so late into the offseason. This has been such a surprise, but, they're sitting at 1 for me, and it's clear-cut 1.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, they've been playing like the best team in basketball so far. One of the top offensive teams in the league, which when you're talking about an offense that's doing better than the Sacramento Kings, who has shown that they're putting up stats on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, that says a lot. And you're talking about a team that's also shown that they can do it on the defensive side as well. Even though the defense hasn't been as fantastic this year, you know that they can still get that done, especially since they have a lot of the same players as they did from last year's championship run. Jason Tatum, again, another guy that is having an MVP type season. He has a good chance of possibly winning the MVP this year, especially seeing the way that this Boston Celtics team has played, along with just his personal stats in general. And the one thing you mentioned was, again, I think a lot of people had doubts going into this season, knowing what happened this offseason with the Celtics, with Ime Udoka, and the fact that they didn't necessarily have a clear-cut head coach or option now that Udoka was going to be out for a season, since Will Hardy had left for Utah. Obviously, of course, then you throw in that whole situation of Ime Udoka possibly leaving to be the Brooklyn Nets head coach, and just this entire situation playing out in front of them. But at the same time, the Celtics are still sitting there with a 16-4 record, and proving why not only do they feel that they got not necessarily cheated out, but they felt that they were meant to be in the finals last season and had a good chance at winning if it wasn't for the fact that you're playing a team like the Golden State Warriors who had all that experience behind them, and they're looking to use that experience this season and try putting themselves back in a position to get back to the NBA finals and possibly win their first finals since what, 2008.
Yeah, since 2008, and I mean, it looks like they got the recipe for that.
Oh, 100%. And they'll just, I mean, we'll have to see again. Very similar situation. We'll have to see how things continue for them. I mean, we've seen some of these teams go on just fantastic streaks. Look at the Suns last season, 17, 18 straight for them right around this time of the year. I mean, overall, just it's an interesting time of the year. It's a tricky time of the year just because there's some of these teams that are maybe coming out of the gates too hot, some that are just not playing as well as they should be. Um, so I mean, I'm interested to see how these power rankings match up to the power rankings that we have at the very end of the season when we actually do have a clear cut idea of who's playing in the playoffs and where each team is going to be seated. So it's
Yeah,
going to be interesting, but
and real quick, Kate, I'll be even interested to see if we do make this a monthly segment. Even in a month from now, how things will shake up because the Warriors could keep going. I didn't have the Heat in there, and the Heat have been balling out as of lately with no Jimmy G. So they were a team I was thinking about putting at 10. Another team I didn't include the Raptors, 76ers still not in here, Hawks not in here. So these rankings, I feel like, especially in that like 5 to 10 range, are going to be changing up monthly.
no, exactly. And I mean, like, you look at mine, it's like I'm talking about a team like the Kings and the Pacers in mine. Again, as you mentioned, the Sixers aren't even in mine. The Nets have a possibility of being mine in the future. I mean, Portland and Utah are teams that have shown success over the past few weeks. So I mean, yeah, in general, there's
Oh,
a
yeah, we
lot
didn't
of
even.
a lot
Neither
that
of
can
us had
happen.
Utah in there, huh? Neither of
Yeah,
us.
well, I mean, they fell off
Yeah.
pretty hard. I mean, they were sitting they were sitting at number 1 less than what they're at 8. So I mean, you're talking about a full change when at least comes to playoff seeding and whatnot, which is insane. So I mean, that as we mentioned, they look good, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to continue to show that streak and whatnot. But we'll see.
It's insane how close the West is, man. Like the
Exactly,
Timberwolves are
lots of
10 and
parity.
10. Yeah, it's crazy. Teams are gonna, be distant like the Jazz, but man, the West is always just so competitive, man.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, look at it this way too. The difference between 1 and 10 is 3.5 games. Like that's
Yeah.
nothing. That's a week of playing basketball. So I mean, you're talking about so much that can happen within the time of now and pretty much by the end of this week, anything can happen. Those West standings could look way different. So obviously, I can understand why, at least when doing these power rankings, talking about the West is going to be a little more difficult than a team or a conference like the East, where I feel like the teams that you're currently talking about, other than maybe like again the Pacers, Washington, even up there. Those are teams that we can't talk about as consistently later on in the season, but at least it's a little bit of we have a better understanding there than we would have of the West as of now.
I like it. You want to move on to the news?
Yeah, all right. Let's hit Pat
Okay.
Bev first. I was gonna say, hey, got Suns and Lakers talking about this one, but hey,
Okay, you were at this
I,
game.
I was gonna say I didn't stay for this, but I was at this game. I wish I stayed for it. The big thing here, I think, and I'm not gonna. The big thing that I want to talk about isn't necessarily the actual interaction between Pat Bev and DeAndre, and it's more so the suspension, a 3-game suspension for a shove in the back. Danny, what are you like overall? What are your thoughts about the suspension itself?
I think it is deserving. I think it was in the bubble. Pat Bev shoved Chris Paul in the back, and he was hit with a one game suspension. And like you said, it is just a shove, but the league said because of a history of unsportsmanlike acts, they increased it to 3 games. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be a 1 game suspension. Like DeAndre Ayton wasn't hurt or anything like that. But Pat Bev, he's a Laker, but I can't be. I'm not the biggest Pat Bev guy. I like how he plays, the aggressiveness he plays, but when he does this type of stuff, shoving players in the back, as much as I like how he stood up for AR-15, you don't want to mess with Austin Reeves. This is still like a dirty shove. I mean, what if DA rolled an ankle or something? It's still a dirty move. So, initial reaction, I'm not really surprised. I do think he deserves that 3-game suspension, and even Pat Bev said he deserved it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the big thing here, and then to real quick to go back to that, that was the 2021 Western Conference Finals, Game 6, pretty much right at the end. Not exact same situation, but very similar in the sense that both teams go into their benches. I don't know what was said, but yeah, Pat Bev turns around, pushes Chris Paul in the back. Obviously, you see it now again here in game this time with Pat Bev pushing DeAndre in the back. It's interesting because you do get a lot of like different perspectives on this one. Like for example, you got Westbrook, who when was asked about it, he was like, "Yeah, I fully support it. You know, he's standing up for his teammate, like he's doing what he can to show that, like he's protecting this guy. You know what I mean?" And I agree with that. You know, Pat Bev protecting your guy, doing what you can to make sure that it's like, hey, like you just protect your teammate. You know what I mean? Like that's I feel like a very just common. It's a given. You know that every teammate should really be doing that unless you're on a team with terrible chemistry. But at the same time, then you got the perspective from D Book, which I also agree with, where it's like, hey, if you're Pat Bev, stop shoving guys in the back, shove them in the chest. Like if
All
you're
right,
going to be
come on, D
start
Book. Let's not act like all tough like D Book's a tough guy. I didn't really like that quote, Kate.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, no, okay. I'll give you that one. D Book's not necessarily the toughest guy. He's not going to go out there starting picking fights and whatnot. D Book wouldn't be the guy to shove somebody in the back for sure. But at the same time, I agree. He's not going to be out there trying to start any confrontation. But I do agree with it in the sense that like and Pat Bev since like, what are you doing? You know, like if you're out here trying to look for this confrontation, why don't you go in his face, get up in his face instead of just pushing him in the back and kind of just doing like a little cheap shot on him. You know what I mean? Especially considering that this has been a repeated offense. I mean, both Da, Chris Paul, D Book, they've all seen this before with Pat Bev. They've seen that reputation in history. So it's like I definitely understand where he's coming from, but I also do understand the fact that I mean D Book's also not necessarily the toughest guy out there. So what do you expect him to? You know,
No, I agree. And also, real quick, what was Da doing? Is staring down AR like that? I didn't really understand. Like, come on, man. It's not like they didn't call the foul on Book, so I don't really understand that. But like I said, hey, Pat Bev, he might have taken one for the team. You know, after he gets suspended, Kate, Lakers are 2-0 without him. Dennis Schroeder, he's been playing way more minutes now in these past two games against the Spurs, and Schroeder's been looking pretty good. I said this last week. He kind of knows how to run this offense way better offensively than Beverley. You know, you want to look at Beverley's stats: 4, 4, and 3 on 26% shooting. I mean, this dude, I'm surprised this guy is still playing. And Schroeder, he just had a 21-point game last game. Hey, maybe this was a good thing. You know, Bev taking one for the team. You know, maybe a little addition by subtraction. You know, Bev, hopefully, I don't know. I don't think he'll find himself in the rotation, honestly. You know, after he misses this Pacer game.
no, I could see
Sorry
that.
to make this. Sorry to make this about the Lakers, man.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna say I'll make it about the Suns right now because I feel like
Okay.
that shove definitely helped out the Suns. I mean, they're obviously looking a lot better than the Lakers right now. Light flex, but at the same time, you're talking about Da. The past two games that he's played since that's happened have been 2 career games for him. The Suns undefeated since then. I mean, so who knows? Maybe this push has helped both teams here. But at the same time, well, I mean, again, only time will tell. We'll have to see. And all I'll say is, hey, I agree with D-Book in the sense that shove them in the chest. If you're going to start stuff, start it with them knowing what's up instead of taking cheap shots like that. All right, Dan, you want to move on to the next thing? You're going to have to leave the Atlanta one because I'm not exactly sure what happened, but let's get into it.
Yeah, so it started in that Rockets. I wanted to bring up the Rockets and Hawks game that happened a couple days ago. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. You know, trading for DeJounte was a big deal. I was pretty big on this Hawks team, and they really haven't. You know, they've been kind of underwhelming, and I think we saw it in that Rockets game. They dropped 83 points together. They're up like 10 in the third quarter. They're showboating. They're talking. They're doing like airplane celebrations in the third quarter, Cade. And then they end up losing to the Rockets, who were 4-16. They were outscored 34-18 in the fourth, and then they lose to Miami at home by 8. And I kind of want to just bring up this Hawks team where these young guys, it's kind of obvious in my opinion they need some veteran presence, because these young guys, Trae Young hasn't really won anything. I know he made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think that was 2-3 years ago when he went on that run. I think they lost to the Sixers when Ben Simmons was there, because I remember Ben Simmons clamped up Trae. If if I remember correctly. I don't know. That was a while ago. But this Hawks team, they're fifth in pace.
Are you talking about when the Hawks were in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah. How long ago was that? Was that two years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2021, where they lost to the Bucks. But yeah, they beat
Oh,
the
they lost the
Sixers
Bucks.
instead.
They did beat the Sixers. You're right. Oh, it was the Ben Simmons layup.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't shoot the layup. Yeah, but this Hawks team, 5th in pace, 9th in points. So they're pushing the ball, but they're only 20th in shooting percentage. They're sitting at 5th in the East, but 4-6 in the last 10. This Hawks team, it's not a team I'm gonna trust late in games, and especially come playoff time, Kate. I'm already gonna say that right now. I've seen enough. I know it might be an overreaction, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that. I feel like just in general, you look at this team, and again, it does. First off, you look at their bench. Their bench doesn't have much. I mean, there's nothing to their bench really at all. You guys, your best guys, who I would say, I don't even know who your best guy is at this point. Honestly, coming off the bench, maybe.
Well, that's interesting. Let me pull up their bench real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking at their bench right now. Their best bench players averaging 8.8 points per game, which coming off the bench, that's not going to be anything anything that's going to help you. You're relying very heavily on DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, two guys that have shown success for the past few seasons and shown success in that game against the Rockets, or putting together a combined 83 points, looking very solid. But at the same time, when you're talking about the only other player on that team in double digits is a bench player, AJ Griffin.
And I think AJ out of Duke, he's only a rookie. He's only 19 years old, and if he's your 6th man, ooh, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. I don't see this team looking too good this season if they're relying as heavily as they are on Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Now, at the same time, they're 11-8. You're talking about a team that I think in the long run could see themselves in the play-in, but at the same time, they've got a lot that they have to do in order to actually find that success. One of the things I've seen too is that Atlanta has been in trade talks with Jay Crowder, a veteran's presence who might be the difference maker when it comes to being able to go out there and kind of settle this team down. Obviously, an interesting choice as a veteran leader on a team, but at the same time, maybe it's a necessary move to kind of
I
just
actually
settle
really
this team
like that
down and get
move.
him ready.
I think he would fit in perfectly, Kate. That seems like some dude who, hey, Jay Crowder doesn't take like no from anyone really, even his teammates. I mean, this dude goes head to head with LeBron back in the day with Sixers, Cavs. This dude was not afraid of anyone. I would really like the Hawks to go out and get Jay Crowder.
I was gonna say it's a possibility for sure, and I think Jay Crowder, it'd be interesting just because of the point he is in his career, that he's a veteran level status at this point. He's had that success on different teams. I mean, 2 or 3 years back, he went to back-to-back finals, one with the Heat, one with the Suns. He's shown that experience. He's shown that ability to win. He's been on teams that have been able to win. Defensively, he's going to be able to go out there and take down some of the best players in the West, or my bad, in the East. So I agree. I think this could be a good fit. It's just a matter of going to be that veteran presence you want to bring into a locker room, especially seeing the way that he's been playing out in this season for the Suns, not having played a single game. I mean, realistically, as mentioned, they would be relying strictly on that idea of a veteran presence in the locker room.
100%.
So it'll be interesting for sure. I mean, wait, what? Say that again.
You got any other hoops talk? But yeah, no, I agree. I think Jay Crowder would be a good fit for them.
I'll say I think that's it for me. I feel like just in general, it's been an interesting week for sure. I mean, I feel like, as mentioned, around that time where things kind of start to settle out. But we'll have to see.
I just saw the caption, Atlanta, what happened? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for you to notice that, but yeah, no, I couldn't think of anything else for it, so I threw that one in there. But yeah, that's it for Hoops Talk. I was gonna say we'll definitely have things. A lot's going on in the NBA. Let's just put it that way. So we'll have a lot to talk about in the future. Danny, let's go into Fit of the Week. Danny, you're 4-0 right now. What's going? Oh, my bad. You're 0-4. What's going on there?
Come on, the audience does not know what's. I'm blaming the audience on this one, Kate. Come on.
Okay, whatever you say. I'll just say I think I put together some pretty good fits, but
I'm kidding.
The audience doesn't know.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Real quick, we're doing a punishment at the end of the year, so it's not end of the semester, right?
Oh,
is it end of the
semester? I feel like it's a little bit too late if it's end of the semester. I mean, I already won, so it's not even close. But no, we'll do end of the season.
Okay, all right, end of the season. Sounds good. All right, cool. So I'm still alive then. No team has ever come back down 0-4, but I will most definitely be coming back 04 because I'm going with my Lakers. Some dude who's been balling out on the Lakers. Kendrick Nunn. He might be another first timer on here. I'll show the fit right here for the audience, if anyone's tuning in. He's got the comfy fit on right now. It's like sweatpants, but they don't really look like sweats, but they're made out of wool. And he's got plain spattered on the carpenter pants. Chucks on the bottom. Not too much designer, I don't think, going on. Just a clean fit for the winter. Maybe some idea. These are some pants you don't usually see too often. And I like how he pulls it off with the simple chucks on the bottom. I'm going with Kendrick Nunn.
I was gonna say I feel like it's a very like D-book-esque kind of fit. Just keeping it simple, keeping it kind of neutral, keeping it plain, but at the same time, he puts it together well, especially with some of the accessories he's got. I mean, the bag works well with it, especially with the shirt he's got underneath. The chucks, obviously, keeping it simple. I don't dislike that one. For me, I'm going with the outdoorsy guy, Kyrie Irving. Definitely a little. I think this is probably one of the more interesting fits we've had on the show, not necessarily because of the fit itself, but of the accessories. Again, in a similar situation, kind of keeping it simple. Has some just like almost like work pants going on down below. He's got the work jacket for sure, the white plain t-shirt underneath, but it's the accessories that make this as good as this fit is. The piece hat going on, the little not almost like a bucket hat almost, but just kind of like almost just, I guess a bucket hat's the best way to say it. He's got Converse on, but a different style of Converse. I don't know exactly what type they are. And then the walking stick is what kind of makes this fit, I think, realistically kind of puts it together. Again, I'll show the viewers whatnot. Obviously, it'll be on the social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram. Danny,
this is the first time I've ever seen someone pull off like a walking stick. And I'm not surprised it's Kyrie Irving.
Oh, 100% no. It'd only be, I'm surprised he does. I mean, he got the little to-go box. I wouldn't be surprised if there's Sage in that to-go box. He's right to just get the spirits out of Barclays Center or whatnot. But yeah, of course, as mentioned, those will be going on.
Did you see his army of supporters, Kade?
No. Oh my.
Yeah.
For what?
Like protesting outside of a Nets games and stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, I got to send you these videos. It's something you've never seen, I guarantee you, in your entire life. It looks like he has an army of supporters doing like army chants. Yeah.
Jeez, that sounds like something that happened with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
If anybody, it'd be Kyrie Irving. But as mentioned, 94 Feet Show on Instagram, Twitter. We'll have those up hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Tuesday. Go vote on that. Get me to 5-0. We'll get Danny to 0-5. Just keep this streak going for me. This is the best streak I've been on, so I've got to soak it up as much as I can. So I don't want to lose again. Let's just put it that way. But Danny, let's go to the last segment of the show. Just going into the Thanksgiving theme, the pieces in our collection that we're thankful for. I feel like in general over the past few weeks, I haven't been as big on the fashion side. I've been, as weird as it sounds, a little bit more on like the home decor, like apartment decor kind of side. Apartment style and whatnot, but at the same time, there's still plenty of stuff in my
kid. I didn't know that. I've been on my decor too. I have like I've been like collecting like a vintage basketball stuff lately. I just picked up a MJ Wheaties box.
Oh shoot! Okay, yeah. Okay, look, like we're figuring it out. Look at that. Hey, it's just we're getting the same things. Maybe we'll have to do something about just home decor and whatnot for a show.
That would be a good segment, man.
That would be. I mean, it's kind of fashion. It's home fashion when you think about it. But yeah, going back into it, pieces we're thankful for. We'll do top 3 for both of us. Danny, what are you looking at for what you're thankful for?
Do you only have? I only brought out sneakers. I thought we were doing sneakers, but do you have other pieces other than sneakers, Kade?
I've got other ones. Yeah, I've got other than sneakers, but at the same time, if you want to do all sneakers, I'm good with that.
Okay, I'll start. If I can think of something in the meantime, I'll pull that out. But my top 3 sneaker that I'm thankful for, it's the Kobe 1 Protros. Picked these up before he passed away for $50 cash. Brand new, just no box. So it was a total steal at the time. These are great hoop shoes, but I mean, it just means Kobe. This is my second pair of Kobe's, but I bought these as like, kind of a sneaker more than a hoop shoe. I have a pair of 5 Protros that I use as my hoop shoe, but I don't know. I bought these before he passed away. The resale shot up to like $350 brand new. And it's, man, I mean, Kobe 1s, it's a clean sneaker. Kobe growing up has always been my favorite pair. So I'm just kind of glad I was able to pick up a Kobe shoe before I had to pay quadruple the prices.
Yeah, no, that's solid. I'll say that's a solid pickup too. I feel like the Nike was going hard with the Kobe One Protros for a while, and they kind of just fell off with those. But I feel like it's a very underrated silhouette. Dan, I don't think I've ever seen you rock it either. So I was gonna say we got to see that at some point. You rocking the Kobe ones.
They're my display shoe right now. That's why
Okay,
I've been
hey,
up.
I like
Yeah.
that. I'll say I was planning on using the lost and found Jordan ones as a display shoe for a little bit, but
Ooh.
the sneakers decide to trash on me for that one. For me, I'm gonna go with something a little different. I picked them up this year. I almost don't want to touch them. I've been rocking them a lot. So for this one, I love the backstory behind it. I like the thought process behind it. This is what really sold me on this one. But it's a shoe I picked up back in June. I got to go with the general purpose shoe, the Nike Tom
They've been
Sachs
your
general
beaters,
purpose
huh?
shoe. Oh, but that's the thing though, is that they've been my beaters, but they're meant to be a beater, like they're meant to be a shoe that you're supposed to run to the ground. It's a general purpose shoe for a reason. The whole advertising behind it was that it was supposed to be boring. It was supposed to be the most basic shoe possible. So that's kind of what I've been using it for. I almost kind of want to turn it into like my own little personal art project where I wear them for a year and then I kind of just like do what I can to make sure they don't smell bad at all. And then I use that as like a display shoe. You know what I mean?
Hey, Tom Sachs, they're one of the weird shoes where you can beat up and they kind of look better beat up. I would say Converse, another shoe that looks better, especially Blazers and Converse. I would throw the Tom Sachs in there as a shoe that they look better over time when they're worn out.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah, especially the Tom Sachs, the Mars Yard general purpose shoe, all of them. They're meant, I
Yeah.
mean, you can tell that they're meant to get beat up. They're meant to be used. They're meant to be worn. But that was this whole purpose behind it. I mean, especially with the Mars Yard, how Tom Sachs created that whole program where you're supposed to submit an application to show that you're going to go out there and get good. The wear testers, you're going to get good use out of them rather than just sell them or put them on ice or whatnot. So
And
I love the whole messaging
I
behind
remember
Tom Stacks and whatnot.
when the Mars Yard first, I think they re-released at one point, and he wanted retail stores to damage the boxes or have people who bought the shoe to walk out with the shoe on feet because of that whole reason. Something that's just cool,
Oh,
I would be kind of
100%.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree. All right, Danny,
especially
what's
with
your?
reselling. All right, number
Oh,
two for
exactly,
me.
100%.
Yeah, number two. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
No,
it's
you're
it's
good.
super awkward over Zoom, man.
It is. It's good though. We're still learning. We're still figuring it out.
We're making it work. Number two, my first pair of Air Jordan 1s, my only pair of Air Jordan 1s, but just kidding. I sold my first pair of Air Jordan 1s, the Core Purples, because I wanted the Core Purple 2.0. These are shoes that I wear almost every day, even though they're purple. I just like wearing purple. I don't know if you can tell, but they do need a cleaning. Resale isn't even going too crazy on these. Pick these up as soon as when did I get these? Yeah, as soon as my first COVID check came in, I went straight to Cool Kicks. I picked these up, and I haven't worn them since. I think I traded my Court Purple, like the 1.0s, and like $50 for these. Total steal. And purple's my favorite color. Jordan 1, favorite silhouette. Hopefully I can get my hands on my second pair of Jordan 1s, those lost and founds. I think I'm gonna pull the trigger, Kate, on resale. I don't want resale to keep going up. So yeah, that's the second pair. That's the second shoe I'm thankful for.
I'll say I might have to do the same. Those lost. I mean, I'm looking at trying to get a new car, but the
Mm.
lost and founds might be a little more important right now. But yeah, no, I missed the pair of Jordan ones I had. I sold them too, and I'll admit the quality on the ones that I had. I think it was one of the royal blue ones, not like one of the nice royal blue ones, kind of one of the
Nah,
lower
yeah,
end
the
ones.
the blue toe, was it the blue toe
Yeah, I
ones?
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't the
yeah.
best, but at the same time, it's Jordan ones. They're definitely a shoe that needs to be in everybody's collection, in my opinion, especially if you consider yourself a sneakerhead. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm surprised I haven't picked up a Jordan one at some point. For me, for my second one, I wish I could I might just throw thrifting in here in general. But I gotta go with this crew neck, the Puma crew neck before. Like you can tell it's from like some painter or whatnot. Like overall, just a great crew. Love wearing this to the winter time. But just in general, just thrifting in general. Like I picked that up for like at the bins for probably like a few cents, to be completely honest with you. Like thrifting, I love thrifting. I love anything that can just go into just finding fashion that's a little more out there, a little more unique. That piece, not necessarily really goes deep into that, but still goes into that. So that piece in general, but also just thrifting.
Oh, hey, I like that. I'll go over my number one, Kate. I do know you love that Puma shoe crew neck. I know you be rocking it, and the fact that you got that for a couple cents, man, sheesh, that's just a W in general. Thrifting.
Exactly.
I'm gonna pull out after I show off my number one sneaker. I have to show off my favorite piece that I've thrifted. But my number one shoe I'm most thankful for. It's the first shoe I ever hit on sneakers. Travis Scott sixes. Hit these on sneakers. Funny story. Sneakers actually said I didn't hit on these. I remember I had $300 in my account, Cade, and I had my cousin's wedding to go to on like that next week. And sneakers said I didn't hit on these. And I was like, man, all right, whatever. So I go to the mall and try and pick up a suit because I needed to get a new suit for my cousin's wedding. My card got declined, and I was like, what? How did it get declined? I checked my statement, and I got a purchase for $250 on Nike, and that's how I knew I hit on these. And I ended up not getting a new suit, but I did pull up with some fresh Jordan 6s because they shipped out in time. So I'm thankful I hit these on retail. I have a pretty cool story about that. And honestly, I just love earth tones. Like this green is this 6 is so slept on. The all green olive with the pocket details on there. The other one, there's a Cactus Jack on the back tab of the other one, but Nike Air on one of them. It's just a clean shoe.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And again, as you mentioned, slept on for sure. I feel like it always goes to the Travis Scott Jordan 1, but you look at some of these other Jordan releases that they've had with Travis Scott, fantastic. And I think that's one of the top ones for sure. And also just a fantastic, I mean, that you can't top that first hit on sneaker story. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's something for sure. But of course, as typical, sneakers freaking out on people and whatnot. My number one, I don't know if I'd really call it my personal number one, but I just got to go with my fitted collection. I got 4 good fitteds. This is the newest pickup, but probably my favorite too. The Expo is the sangria colorway.
That's
Colorway, I
clean.
guess, is the same thing. I'll say it's fantastic. But fitteds in general, I mean, just it's an easy way to kind of just style your fit, a new fit. You know what I mean? Like you can do something a little more unique, a little more different with it, and add something to it. Accessories in general, in my opinion, are easily like one of the best things that you can add to a fit to make it better. And I think a fitted is a good way to just add an accessory that looks good as well. So I'm not going to go too depth with that, but the fitted for sure. That collection, my collection I got, it's not a big collection, but it definitely gets the job done.
Yeah, I only got 2 Hat Club fitteds. I have a bunch of like, just regular fitteds, but I'm trying to step up my like fitted collection with different colorways. That Montreal is clean. So I need to step mine up for sure. Okay, let me grab my favorite vintage piece that I picked up real quick.
All right, let's see it.
I gotta show it off real quick.
Let's see it. I'll say, as I mentioned, thrifting. You can't go wrong with thrifting. It's always fun. It's always good. Oh, I know exactly what you're bringing out too.
Ooh. Yeah, Little Rams varsity. Pick this up at I can't hear you real quick. Pick this up at a Melrose thrift store, Kate, for $30. You got the St. Louis Rams varsity. Nothing on the back, but it's a starter 90s.
That's solid.
Yeah, resale is going for like $150. Got that for $30 on Melrose. I was so surprised. And I mean, I know thrifting is, it's kind of dirty. You're gonna miss a lot, but if you're consistent with it, you're just gonna find pieces like that.
Oh, 100%. I agree. Especially going to like a place like the Bins or just honestly any Goodwill Savers, any place. Just go out, check it out. It's worth it. It's definitely the time commitment, and that's why I haven't been able to do it as recently.
Yeah.
But it's 100% worth it. All right, Danny, you got anything else to leave the show on today?
I don't think so. Good show. I'm gonna have to clip this thing we're thankful for and throw it on like a YouTube for a 94 feet extended. But hey, like I said last week, end of the year's coming up. That's good content for sneakerheads.
Oh, good content for sneakerheads. Good content for us in general. We'll have plenty to talk about, especially as we go back from the beginning of this year and talk about everything that we've been able to kind of predict and whatnot, and seeing how right or wrong we were about different things. But as usual, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in again. Make sure you hit Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that. Check out everything that we're putting out there, especially TikTok since we started getting stuff out there again. But we'll have Fit of the
It
Week on
finally
Instagram,
happened,
Twitter.
man. It finally
Exactly.
happened.
It's looking pretty good too, so I'm happy about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, Fit of the Week's going on Twitter, Instagram. We'll have that up fairly soon. But as usual, thank you so much thank you so much, guys, for joining today. Have a fantastic week. Have a fantastic rest of November, and we'll see y'all in December.